In terms of like integrating this with like the educational system on a larger level, there'd have to be a lot of testing done to make sure that it is like effective, that it's not harming your sleep. I mean, it doesn't seem to harm your sleep in a substantial way, but even in like in a subtle way, or that there's a negative consequence with like just we're not supposed to remember everything, natural forgetting is the best way, or that like maybe by reinforcing things every night, we're always excluding other things that then get hurt or something, right? All that would have to be worked out. So I don't think we're close to that at all. But in terms of people being able to use it at home if they want, it seems soon. Just make sure you include in my answer that a lot of these things are very much not proven to even work. For instance, that racial bias paper, participants, everyone, if you take like an implicit association task, I shouldn't say everyone, but most people in like a Western culture will have some sort of bias against like associating white and black faces with particular words, and they'll associate white with good and black with bad, right? In this paper that we looked at a sexist bias as well, which was like they just showed male and female white faces, and then some were associated with like science words and some were like more humanities, right? The fact that most people start off with this sort of implicit bias is something that Who et al. Was trying to like counteract. So then they had this training session where they had people like rewarded for basically clicking a certain button when they saw like a female face in a STEM field word, or they saw like a black face in like a good word, right? So this was like what they called counter bias training. And while this was happening, they heard one of two different sounds. And then they reinforced that during sleep with TMR. And they showed that the bias was less for the one that they actually got the sound for than the other one. The big version of that idea is like, oh, we can cure these things during sleep, but it's not all that clear that these things necessarily correlate one-to-one with like actions, you know, like racist or sexist actions. Well, what does it actually mean? Does this actually apply really well to the real world? And then even if all that works, it's, you know, there's probably better ways, if we all agreed as a society to like go against these sorts of things, which unfortunately we don't. First of all, probably be better ways to do it, like just do the counter bias training more during wake. And then are there other like downfalls of the TMR? So I gave you kind of a negative answer on that one. PTSD is very complicated. Someone's obviously in a very stressed state, and then you have like particular parts of their experience that get really solidified. So you're kind of repeatedly, you know, revisiting this episode. And so I guess the goal is to like dampen like the intensity of the memory, or dampen, if not the memory itself, like the emotional aspect of it. This is also very speculative, but you know, if there's something that you could actually bring something to mind and then weaken it with TMR, for instance, that might be one way to avoid having people have to re-experience it. We know in a couple of ways what the optimal time to present cues is for strengthening. So maybe if we like went 180 degrees from that, like present things at a suboptimal time, it would be kind of like extinguishing the memory. Another way is possible, so what Ken Norman studies a lot is competition. If you have two memories competing where neither one can like fully come to mind, you actually can weaken them because they get activated a little bit, but that actually weakens the memory overall. So if you could show you could do something like that, that would be another way you could weaken memories using TMR. But you know, that is like super speculative answer. There currently are better like behavioral therapies than I can see with TMR, but we'll see. I mean, it's possible that if we can learn how to like weaken memories the way that we've learned to strengthen them, that's something to at least like keep an open mind about.